Okay, all right, Leah here. I'm gonna put out another video. I've just been thinking and just talking to the Lord about an issue that most of us deal with or actually don't deal with, and it's specifically in getting things right with people, and just so easily how we can keep being people that just shove things under the rug and easily just don't deal with things or don't talk about things, and internally we're frustrated or we're annoyed at someone or these kinds of things that we just don't learn to ever deal with them, and we just kind of take a passive approach in a lot of our relationships. Some people are really good at dealing with conflict and they're easy to just go and talk about it, but most of us, I would say majority, because of our fear of man, our insecurity, questioning about getting rejected or someone's just going to kind of throw it back in our face, we often don't deal with issues between people, and this is between friends, family members, people in the church, all different kinds, just even strangers or whatever, and people at work. Like, we need to learn how to deal with things, and I'm talking about like just little things, even not major issues, not major things, just this stuff, daily stuff that we need to learn how to get things right with people. The Bible has just incredible verses about this and just strategies on how to do this, and specifically looking at Matthew 18 verses 15 to 17. Let me just read it out and then we'll go from there. Okay, so if your brother or sister sins, go and point out their fault, just between the two of you. If they listen to you, you have won them over, but if they will not listen, take one or two others along, so that every matter may be established by the testimony of 2 or 3 witnesses. If they still refuse to listen, tell it to the church, and if they refuse to listen even to the church, treat them as you would a pagan or a tax collector. Okay, so let me break this down in maybe more simplified terms, in a way that I interpret it, in a way that I see as an incredible way for us to get things right, and a godly biblical example of how to get things right. So if there's an issue with someone, all right, and just even small issue, someone, has been mean or calling you a name that you don't want to be called, and just little things, especially with family members or things that we just need to just be like, hey, don't do that. Hey, this is hurting my feelings. What you do, you get the person, you pull them aside, away from crowds. Often people can explode after they've built up frustration with people at times, and then it's all of a sudden in front of everyone at the dinner table, and then it's an explosion of you never loved me, all these things, and it all comes out really intensely. The best thing is to avoid all of that, and not to be so messy, and to deal with things right away. Okay, so say, family gathering, someone calls you something you don't like, or a name or something, or says something to you that you get offended by, and you're just hurt, you feel hurt, you kind of start distancing yourself from that person, and you kind of want to just kind of walk away from them and not deal with them, and you shove it down like, oh, it's not a big deal, but it is a big deal, and you're feeling hurt. So what do? Right away, as soon as you recognize the hurt, as soon as you recognize the offense of just, you have to go get them. Biblical example, you pull them aside just between the two of you. It says that. It says go just between the two of you, you pull them aside. Say, hey, very easily just say, hey, when you said this, or if you did something, if they did something or whatever, when you said this, when you did this, it made me feel hurt, it made me feel offended, it made me feel rejected, or whatever language it would be. But just a simple method of just being able to communicate what has gone on. And often we need to learn how to just communicate, and not play it down. That's another quick thing, is don't play down your hurt. Don't play down where you've been affected by someone, and that's just going to keep destroying relationship. Where God's like, let's be people that have good relationships. Let's have relationships that are loving and kind and truthful. That's what real relationships are meant to be. We're meant to be truthful. That's how we love one another, as we know what's going on. And so if someone offends you, you pull them aside, just the two of you. Say, hey, when you said this, it hurt my feelings. I just wanted to let you know. The response of that other person should be, hey, I'm sorry. Forgive me for where maybe I was out of line. And then immediately, relationship resolved. It's awesome. That's the best result on any of this. Okay, but then it says in the verse, it goes on to even verse 16, but if they don't listen, take another person and go talk with them. So that's what you do. Okay, say if this person doesn't listen and you've gone to them, but they're not listening, they're not taking you seriously, you grab someone else. Okay, maybe someone more of authority, or someone that can, speak in with both of you there. Pull them aside, say, hey, this happened, this person's been doing this to me or calling me this, and just try and bring resolution into the relationship, and just having a mediator or someone else there can actually come and resolve it. And then it says, okay, if it should be resolved, hopefully after that, awesome, resolved, good. Okay, then it says, even if after that, it goes on into verse 17, if they still refuse to listen, you tell it to the church or whatever, and if they still don't listen, then you treat them like a tax collector. Basically, you just shun them. Okay, yeah. So basically, that's kind of the steps. And so say if they still don't listen, then you try to go another route or another way, and getting someone of more of authority to come in and talk to them and to do it in more of a group to get resolved in your relationship. Okay, that's the extreme of it goes on that far. What I'm talking about is just daily stuff. Okay, there is extreme situations where we need a lot more mediating and counseling and people to resolve conflict, but I'm talking about day-to-day stuff, like your sister's stealing your shirt, right? Or the person at the work is doing this to you and you just need to tell them, or person in the church or whatever. It's just this thing of getting things right quickly. And I feel that that's an area where we really can fail on, where we don't get things right quickly. And I'm talking about offenses or small things that coming at us. People say something, especially friends, when they talk about us or they in conversation and they say something that hurts you, or even you see something in them that you need to tell them something, and it's just like, go and communicate with them, go tell them. But often we shy away. We shy away because we are scared to get rejected. And we're actually, we just have this thing of fear of man, really just this fearing man's opinion over God's opinion. And when we look at this area of getting things right, resolving conflict, if we are people in our lives that we are not able to resolve conflict with, or we're not able to be truthful with, we do need to ask the question, like, are they really our friends? Like, if I consider that person like one of my closest friends, but I'm not able to go tell them what I think, or to even correct them on something, or to tell them where I've been hurt, and we're afraid to do that, you got to question, okay, what is this real friendship? If it's someone you can't even be real with. And that's where we need to look at our friends, look at people in our lives and be like, am I fearing, their response, so I don't tell them anything, or they're gonna not want to be my friend anymore, and then I'm like, well, is that a real friendship? Is that good for you? Is that healthy for you? To just feel like you have to always be a certain way? And that's an area where you need to learn, okay, examine your friendships, examine in people around your lives, and be like, can I do this? And the thing is, having to come out of this place of fear of man and rejection. We've all been rejected, okay? We've all been rejected. We have areas of rejection. No one likes getting conflict resolved. No one likes kind of pointing out people's faults or having someone point out your faults. But usually, guys, it just comes down to our pride, honestly. Fear of man is just based in pride. When we fear like what men think or our friends think over, what we should actually do, what is right to do, it's just pride in our own lives because we're scared of how it's going to affect us, right? But usually when we go and resolve conflict and go and communicate, try to get something right, it actually brings greater intimacy, because then they understand, oh, I didn't realize that was hurting you, or oh, I didn't know that was affecting you in that way. And that could actually bring greater understanding for them to know how to be a better friend to you and then you to them. And it kind of grows from there. So getting things right, talking about things is healthy, it's proper, it's needed, and something that we often avoid doing. And we need to start just being like, hey, when you said this, when you did this, it actually affected me, it hurt me. And usually it's like, okay, when do we do this? Like, the question is, how long do I have to wait till I can do this? Because most of us are like, oh, I don't want to go do it. I don't want to go talk to that person, or I don't want to deal with this. Or even just kind of minimize, like, that's not a big deal, but it actually affects us. And when it affects you as soon as you start avoiding them, when something happens and then you're just kind of pulling back from relationship with them, oh, everything's fine, but you're actually, there's a distance and it's very obvious. You need to go talk to that person. You need to go resolve. And that's the mandate that God has called us to be people that love others, and we love others above ourselves and even over our own pride, and just being people that go in humility. And yeah, it's vulnerable going and telling someone when they've hurt you. It's very vulnerable because you're being real with them, you're being truthful. It's this, but what I've seen, what people do, what I've seen in my own life is as I go and approach people and tell them, and then they apologize and we make amends, it just restores like that within an instant. It's amazing what God has given us, just the power of forgiveness and asking for forgiveness, and just how that will resolve things quickly in little things. Okay, you're probably thinking all these massive issues with people, but I'm talking about little day-to-day stuff. And another verse that really I feel like is key in this is not letting the sun go down on your anger. And that is where people are like, okay, when do I get this right? Honestly, you have until the end of the day. That's what I feel is best. As soon as we, go to sleep, and if it's the first thing you're waking up in the next morning, it's kind of plaguing your mind like, oh, this person, or this it got me the wrong way. We need to be people that are quick to get things right with people, are quick to call out where we've been hurt, and to not dwell on these things for days, because we dwell on them for days, it kind of keeps brooding, and you go over the conversation in your mind, and then it becomes bigger than it actually is, and then like days later or weeks later, or even months later, people have these same issues with the person where it could have been resolved within the day, but they wait months because they're too afraid, and they just or don't want to deal with it, or they don't think it's not a big deal, but actually it's affecting them, especially if they're thinking about it months later or years later and they never get it right. Whoa, massive issue of just having to just deal with it right away. Even if it was one word someone spoke that was out of place, or you're just feeling like, man, that didn't feel right. It's okay to be honest. It's okay to be truthful. All right. So it's Ephesians 4:25-27. It says, therefore, each of you must put off falsehood and speak truthfully to your neighbor, for we are all members of one body. In your anger, do not sin. Do not let the sun go down while you are still angry. It's a good one. Don't let the sun go down while you're still angry, and do not give the devil a foothold. And just I've seen that as we don't get things right with people and we let the sun go down in our anger, that the enemy has like an open access into our life, an open access where judgment, accusation, bad thinking towards these people, and it just kind of grows, and then gossip comes out of it. You start talking to someone about it and you begin gossiping about that person, like, oh, they're not the greatest, or whatever, and then more sin keeps coming because we didn't get one thing right. Isn't that interesting? How one area where we can just get that right away, and it could help us and save us from all these other issues that can come with it. So that's the beauty of not letting the sun go down on your anger, being people that are committed to get things right, committed to living in holiness, and committed to living in righteousness, and keeping short accounts with people. So this incredible, ways that God has given us to do relationships rightly and to live out the second commandment of love your neighbor as yourself. And it means loving them, being truthful to them, getting things right, being open, being vulnerable, and being people that are easy and quick to tell the truth about areas they need to get right. Okay, so do it. Be people that keep short accounts. Be people that talk about things and be open about things, and communicate properly, and